David, again, thank you for making it. I really do appreciate your time as always. So with that, go ahead and the floor is yours.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on again. So yeah, so this shadow housing crisis kind of came up as I was doing research on the housing market over the last month. And what I mean by shadow housing market is that people that currently are homeowners, right? Even if you've paid off your home completely, what we're seeing is record increases in property taxes as well as homeowners insurance costs, right? And then you have the additional piece of renovation costs and also building costs, right? That's one part of that. Or actually, that's like two parts within that. You also have the fact that we have the largest transfer of wealth happening over the next 30 years because of baby boomers passing away, passing on their homes to their children. We're seeing a lot of that. And that kind of also adds to that piece of, well, costs are going up. And even if the mortgage is paid off, can your child or whoever inherits the property actually both sustain those payments as well as maintain a house, right? As we know, home ownership isn't just making a mortgage payment and sending off the check every month. It's a lot more than that, like the cost of maintaining a home over the course of a year, and depending on what weather conditions you live in. So that's why there's people that are own homes right now that are facing that crisis, especially if you're on fixed income. Because, Jason, like if you're, let's say 70 and you're getting all these fixed income, you're not going out necessarily getting a job.
Right. Yeah. And that's the point here, right? We're an aging population, right? I mean, everybody ages. There's a big bulk of people that are aging out of the workforce. And what does that mean? That means effectively they are going to be taking a pay cut. Most people who go from working 40 hours a week to retirement take a cut in actual annual earnings. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. And what may have looked okay as the years were going by, okay, I could retire on this amount. Well, that amount keeps changing because of all these extra costs that are going up, like you had talked about, right? So whether it's inflation, whether it's whether you have a yard service now because you can't do it yourself, whether your HOA fees went up, whether your taxes went up, whatever it is, the costs are getting greater. Now, we had some relief from that, I believe, David, with those extremely low interest rates that we've had for quite a long time. And it helped to kind of, I don't know, bridge that gap for a lot of people. But now those days are gone. So now we have people that are getting to the end of their working age, getting ready to retire, and going, wow, I can't refinance my house any lower than it is. And I can't necessarily retire on what I can't retire and make all my payments. So therefore I need to dissolve my assets, right? Get rid of my house. So now you got people that are going to downgrade. There's going to be movement in the real estate market as far as I used to live in this specific area. I can't really live here anymore. So I'm going to move to another area. So we're going to see some of that. And then just by cause of inheritance, people who pass away, houses getting passed on. Where does VA home loans fit into this at all, if it does? And I have kind of a second question, since we're in this government shutdown, and who knows when it's going to resolve, right? By the time we actually get this video posted, who knows, right? It may or may not be resolved, but here's kind of the second question. So the first one was, where does VA home loans fit into all of this big equation of just kind of the shadow issues going on? The second piece is, do you feel as though there's any sort of impacts from a government shutdown on mortgage rates in general, and specifically the VA home loan, since it's backed by the VA and the VA shut down, and who knows if there's people working in the loan area for any sort of weird approvals or anything weird that needs to happen on the backside, or questions that need to get asked regarding specific, maybe it's a weird situation, right? Anyway, so back to you.
All right, perfect. So those two scenarios. So in the first question, essentially, is that if passing a property on and your VA home loan, right? So a couple things that. So one, if you have a surviving spouse and you pass away from a service-connected disability, then your spouse will have survivor benefits and both be able to use your VA loan if they're receiving indemnity compensation. I did a whole video on how to request it for the first time if you are a surviving spouse. And then a lot of times you can keep the tax benefit as well on the the property tax benefit if you don't remarry. One thing that I will touch on, and I'm not an attorney, but I did this myself, is you can put a home into a trust with a VA loan, right? And it's really the only way that that mortgage could live on with that property if it's in that trust, to my knowledge, right? And then you can continue to make payments on that and then still be able to keep that loan and basically just pay it down to zero. And then just again, it was still the home will be in your loan. So that's a very positive piece. If you have a home loan and you don't have something set up or like a will or anything else, then just kind of goes to an estate or potentially an estate sale. So you have those things to worry about. You don't want to lose assets, right? You want to be able to at least gain and improve on it. The second part, when it comes to the government shutdown, right? You're right in the sense of if there's a weird issue that we need the VA's approval for, that can cause some challenges because they don't have the full workforce at hand. Now, if it comes to the general, hey, I'm using my VA home loan, I'm ordering an appraisal, all of that is still just business as usual. But yeah, I mean, I would say probably the biggest thing right now affecting people from the government shutdown and home loans in general is that there's about 1,300 closings a day that cannot happen, which is about 40,000 transactions a month because they can't get flood insurance. Okay, because flood insurance is out. Another big piece to that, which is crazy, is the number of people in flood zones not having insurance is also wild. I just did a video on it. I would have to recall it, but it's astronomical. Like how many people don't have flood insurance just
and they're
because
in flood
can't
zones.
afford it. Yeah, are in flood zones that just can't afford it.
Wow.
Or just don't even get it. So it's insurance. I feel like sometimes like, man, it's a scam, but it's
right.
like
but it's a scam until you need it for sure.
Until you need it, right? And then that's kind of like why it's my own personal opinion. But then like, wait, I need it now. Like, I paid in 20 years into it, finally like cashing it out. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you're still getting less than what you paid into it probably. So that's funny.
Right.
Yeah. I know we got you for a limited amount of time, but I do have one more question for you. And this goes back onto, with we'll call it the collateral effects of the government shutdown. So whenever it resolves and it's moving forward again, some of these quirky things that happen with VA loans, because the VA home loan is set up for turnkey properties that could actually be able to be resold essentially without major issues. The VA has a few guardrails in place. So when you run into a situation where maybe there is easement rights and it's a rural property and you're driving across somebody else's property to get to your property and you got a bunch of different things going on, if the lender, and this is a big piece, if the lender and the lending institution does not fully understand the VA and the VA's guide and the rules and regulations regarding VA home loans, that could be a red flag for somebody. My suggestion is reach out to you because you are absolutely the expert. And I will tell you this, there are many people, David, out there that don't realize that they should ask the questions until they're in the middle of the process. Right. And then all of a sudden they start hitting major issues and problems and they're beating their head against the wall. And then they're having this horrific experience through the loan process. Right. What can people do to avoid that high stress, major anxiety of purchasing a home? What could they do to basically miss the high stress aspects? What can they do up front?
So it's similar to like what you do, Jason, right? With the channel and providing veterans information so they stay up to date. They know what their VA disability compensation should look like. So it's the same thing on my end. I pride myself on educating people. So right, that's why on the YouTube channel on VA housing education, there's all various topics that come up because you're right. I do get a lot of phone calls from people that are in the middle, or like today, someone towards the end where they're like, David, I watched you earlier. I should have just reached out to you, man. And I'm like looking at their closing disclosure. I'm like 26,000 in points. And I'm like,
Wow.
we could do it without it and still get you better a deal. So, or it's like something has come up in the middle of it, or again a week before closing, where you may get denied or something like that.
Yeah.
You can always reach out to me. I field a lot of phone calls from people just to walk me through their situation. I'm like, yeah, hey, we can do this, or hey, this is 50-50, or hey, we can't. This is what they should have told you in the beginning. A lot of these companies are call centers. They're factories of producing loans. So I feel personally they don't have the highest quality people because they're just a factory of it. So you actually get to talk with me and I walk you through that situation. I'm not selling you anything. It's just let's walk through your situation, figure it out.
Yeah.
If it makes sense, let's work together. And if it doesn't, I'll refer you to somebody else. And
Yeah.
people watching that reached out can back me. I will always do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Great point. And look, this is what I'm going to tell people is at the end of the day, you are the one writing the check. You're the one making the payments. Okay. Do not feel obligated to work or continue to work with somebody that started the process for you. They put some work in. Cool. That's great. But they're not making the payments for you. And if you end up talking with David and David goes, hey, look, $26,000, that's a lot. Let me show you what I could do. If it's a better deal, like he said, why wouldn't you switch over, right? And do the right things? I mean, at the end of the day, you have to take care of you and your household, and don't feel obligated to stay with a bad deal. All right. Any last words, David, before we shut down here?
No, never disqualify yourself from getting a home loan, or at least just exploring it. And don't do it at the last minute, please. Do it like 6 months to a year out so we can review everything, have a game plan. And then when that time comes next year, you're ready to execute. But no, Jason, I really appreciate you having me on again. Always great to see you and do a video with you.
Absolutely. Thank you, David. All right. Hey, thank you, everybody. If you're not subscribed to David's channel, please do so. And if you're not subscribed to Veterans Info tab, please do that as well. Again, thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you very much. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.